And we are honored,
graced with beauty,
to have in our studio right now, joined by best-selling author, the #1 book in the country.
Amazing.
Good God Almighty! And it's not like there isn't any competition out there right now. There is some heavy competition.
In your own building between Bill O'Reilly and Megan. Your own building, you have competition, but you're running away with it. The book is Take Heart, My Child, A Mother's Dream. And Fox and Friends fans know her. Every single one does a great job. Ainsley Earhardt, live in studio.
Yeah.
How are you?
Thank you, Sid. Thank you, Bernie.
I got a quick story
for you. I can't even believe this. Yes, sir.
Before you get to the book.
Okay.
I used to do sports a long time ago before I started doing this with Bernie, which I love. This is my dream come true. So I'm living in Florida. It's 1998. It's a true story. And my agent calls me. He goes, "Isn't it your dream to come back to New York and do sports?" I said, 100%. What do you got for me? He said, "I got a weekly show for you. It's at Mickey Mantle's restaurant, which is now out of business on Fifth Avenue. And you'll be hosting with a guy named Brian Kilmeade." I said, "Never heard of the guy. Forget about it." Swear to God.
Not happening.
You said forget about it?
I said, "Never heard of the guy. I'm not doing it."
He blew off Kilmeade.
1998.
No way.
And now
so who got the job?
I have no idea, but Kilmeade's a big star sitting next to you every single morning.
So that was Kilmeade's first gig, too?
It was probably his first gig.
But you know
wow.
what? He actually did Kilmeade a favor by rejecting him. Because
right. Well, what did Yogi Berra say? When there's a fork in the road, take the fork.
That's it.
You know,
That's right.
mean, you still made the right decision. Look at you now. You're back in New York.
I think so,
You have your own radio show. You're doing great.
That's right.
Things are going great.
And Kilmeade is killing it.
Yeah,
with
he
you
is.
every morning.
He has a book right now that's #1 on
I read it, the Tripoli Pirates.
That's right.
Yeah,
it's a great book.
Very good. Good history book. He also wrote he wrote the Tripoli Pirates and something with George Washington
That's
and
right.
Spies
That's
or
right.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Very
and the
interesting.
Secret Six.
But we're here to talk about your book.
Well,
Ainsley Earhardt.
I mean, Bernie, I can't believe this. This is so surreal because I wrote a book about, I don't know, like 5 or 6 years ago. I felt like I was going to write a children's book. And that's just kind of the way God speaks to me. Just like you always know when you're not done, when he's not done with your life. You know how that feels. So I knew I was going to do something. Had no clue what it was going to be about. So then 5 years, 6 years later, my husband said to me, "You should really think about writing that children's book." And I said, "Yeah, I need to. I think I'm going to write it about Sax, my little dog, who's a 2-pound dog, who I always thought was bullied by my 4-pound dog. And every time we'd go out on the streets in New York, people would be like, 'What is that? Is that a rat?' And I'm like, "No, this is my precious little dog that you're insulting." You know, so I wrote, and bullying was like this big theme, you know, this 5 or 6 years ago. So I thought this would be perfect. And I love children and just have a heart for kids. So I thought that'll be a great theme. So I wrote this book, finally got around to doing it. And maybe that just tells you a lot because my heart really wasn't in it like it should be. So I showed it to my agent. They said, "We really like this. So let's get you in front of some publishers." So I met with these ladies at Simon & Schuster, and I walked in, and they were like, "We like your book, but we want to know more about you. We watch you on Fox. We want to know about you." So I was telling them I grew up in South Carolina, normal family. Mom went to school. She taught kids. Dad always made breakfast for us and was so much fun and drove our carpool and took us. Sometimes we rode the bus. Sometimes he took us to school and took a bunch of our friends, and he always made it fun. And I said he always left us a little note next to our cereal bowl of a saying or a scripture.
This is so nice. I've heard you say this. This is just nice.
And then and the girls from Simon & Schuster said, "Now that's the book."
That's what they said.
Right?
They go, "Ainsley."
I sat with them too.
That's
they
the book.
declined my, but that's fine.
Well,
that's the book.
I had many others decline me too. Okay. So listen, it happens. There's rejection in life. So then they said, "Do you ever get to?" Told them that my faith was very important to me. And they said, "Do you ever get to share that on air?" And I said, "Yeah." Fox has never told me what I can and can't say. I said I was anchoring the 5 the other day. We were talking about ISIS, and I said, "You know what?" So there's a scripture. It says, "Take heart, my child," or "Take heart. I have overcome the world." And I'm like, so God is still in control. We're going to be fine. Like, we can say all this and we can get so scared as a country. And then we just went through this crazy election. And they said, and that's the title, Take Heart.
Beautiful.
And I was pregnant with my little girl, so they said, "Take heart, my child." And I loved it. So then I, sat down to write the book, and it's not verbatim what my dad would say. Like, my dad would say, "I hope I'll never be afraid to fail. Attitude determines aptitude. Attitude determines aptitude. Nothing good ever happens after midnight," he would say. "There are 2 things that you can control, your reputation and your character, and no one can take those away from you." Those were the kinds of things on the notes. So the book talks about, I love this message. It says...
And your dad, I saw him with you on Fox the other night. It was just very touching.
Thank
it was
you.
such a lovely piece.
It's just cool what's happened in my life over the last year. I got this dream job. I had a baby, a healthy baby girl.
And by the way, before the dream job, you used to read the news in the morning.
I did.
And then I would see you on Hannity's show at night. You burned both ends of the candle.
And I did weekend overnight.
I remember one time you did the morning show, and then you were on Hannity. I happened to be on there. We were on the elevator together. And then the next morning, you were in, I think, Oklahoma for some mass shooting. I mean, you had suffered some serious sleep deprivation. You paid your dues. And now you have the dream job, which you deserve.
We all, because you speak from experience, the profession that we chose, the hours are crazy, but we absolutely love it. So it's easy for me to get up at 3 a.m. because I know I'm going to wake up America.
I hate it.
What a cool job. Do you really?
No, I love my job, but I hate getting up.
Same thing. I'm on the B train at 3:30 in the morning. The Dora you just had, that is, how many kids do you have? That's yours.
One.
That's your only
Just one.
child. Your first. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
How many do you have?
I've got 2.
How old are they?
Well, my son Gabe will be 8 years old a week from today on Thanksgiving. And my daughter is 12, and I'm looking at that book because not only are the sayings great from your father, and what the book has to say is great, but the illustration work is beautiful. The drawing is intense.
Her name is Jamie Kim. She's from North Carolina. So the process is long, putting a book together. So after you write it, you've got to find the illustrator. So we went through several. We called them, and they said they had other projects. They were too busy. They couldn't take on anything else. Her agent sent her work to Simon & Schuster, and we all saw it, and we said, wow, that's amazing. So we sent her the manuscript. She started to match the pictures with the words, and what she sent back was just unbelievable.
Amazing.
I mean, look at this.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and what's neat is all my friends at Fox who have looked through it, they all have different pages and different sayings that mean a lot to them. Like my mom loves this one. And when winter comes and leaves fall and fade, take heart, my child, don't be afraid.
Oh, that's great.
She loves that.
Great.
She was crying when she was reading it.
And the reason why this book is number one, in my estimation, is it's a testament to how much your viewers love you and your sincerity and your genuine. You're just such a nice person, a sincere, nice Christian person, and I think that's why they love you, and so they're gonna whatever you put out there, they're gonna purchase.
And let me add something to that. Not only you, but I think Bernard is right about that. But you just went through almost 2 years of divide, of nastiness, of insults, of rancor, and to see a book where what comes out of this book is just love and gratitude. It's pretty. I love my children. To see that. This is what the country needs. Your timing could not be better off of this election.
Well, you know what's crazy about that? This is how God works in my life. So I laugh. There was a book I read that it said Sarah laughed. And Sarah, I think that was the title. Wasn't Sarah the one in the Bible that tried to get pregnant over and over, and she was barren, and then at like 100 years old she got pregnant?
Yeah,
Sarah.
that was Sarah.
Sarah laughed was the name of it. Because when she found out she was pregnant, she just laughed because that's what God does in our lives. I'm telling you, you're right. I hated the election and all of that craziness. But at the same time, it's helping my book.
Right.
So it's like.
So selfishly, it was great.
I know, selfishly, I'm like, wait a minute. That's just how, I don't know. I'm just so grateful. We do have the best viewers. You know that because you work at Fox too. We have the best viewers. Y'all have the best listeners. So many people have supported me. And that's why I love this country, because we all just have to help each other. And this is a time when we really need to love one another and come together despite our differences. We are more alike than we are different. And remember that and love other people. So this is kind of refreshing.
So the book is Take Heart, My Child. The author, Ainsley Earhardt from Fox News. She's here. The book is number one. It's a fantastic story. Described as a lyrical lullaby about her own hopes and dreams to her child, based on what your father used to write and say to you, et cetera, et cetera.
That's right.
And it's a beautiful thing. Take heart, my child. Now, you're from South Carolina, and you came to New York City how long ago?
I moved to Texas after South Carolina. Was on local news there for 2 years, and then moved to Texas. So 12 years ago, I left South Carolina.
And you started out at Fox doing what?
Started out at Fox, funny story, doing the overnights on the weekends. So
that's right. You know, I remember sitting in the makeup chair while you were getting ready to do the overnights. Whenever I did Hannity's show, that's right. You did the overnights, and then occasionally you would do the. Stay there and do the news all morning long, for God's sake.
Right.
So that's how you started, doing overnight news at Fox News. and people just they discovered, hey, what are we doing?
Right.
Put her on
Needs a
prime
better
time.
spot.
Thank
Needs
you.
a better
I did
spot.
that for 7 years. In the last 2 years, they let me stay after I'd done the whole overnight shift.
Yeah.
They let me stay and anchor. We started the 5 a.m. show called Fox and Friends.
That's
First.
Right.
And,
And I anchored
that's right.
that for 2 hours after I'd done the overnight shift. And then for 1 hour, I'm sorry. Then they decided there were 4 of us that kind of rotated, and then they selected 2 of us to anchor the show. That's when I got off the overnight shift and just did the 5 a.m. And then when Elizabeth Hasselbeck decided to leave
Right.
to go be with her family, I was away on maternity leave, and they called me to come in for an interview, and we talked about it, and they offered me the job when I was on maternity leave.
Fantastic.
So
it's
they
been
waited for you
great.
to come back, obviously. Now we have like Kimberly's on this show all the time, Guilfoyle,
She is?
Dana. Oh yeah, they're all
they're
great
the
friends.
best.
But
Yeah.
but you're in a good spot because of your personality. And I just met you for the first time. Bernard knows you. The fact that you're out there in the streets with Steve and Brian, and you're doing stuff on the street, and you're kind of doing a lot of stuff off the cuff. You're not sitting in a studio necessarily like the 5 or outnumbered. I think that's perfect for you. Do you enjoy that part of the show that you're kind of out there touchy-feely with the people? Do you like
I
that?
love that
Yeah.
because that way I can meet the people that keep me employed.
Right.
My dad always said, never forget from where you come. He said, don't ever forget where you came from.
Right.
My mom said, don't end a sentence in a preposition. Those are their personalities.
Was she an
Very
English teacher?
sage advice.
Yeah, she English major.
There you
yeah,
go.
And
There
she
you
is
go.
a teacher.
Right.
She early childhood development teacher for 33 years. She was before she retired. But yeah, so Dad said, don't ever forget where you came from. So I like going out there and meeting the people that keep us employed. They put food on our table. They're going to help
Absolutely.
me send my daughter to college. So
Most
I
of
gotta
them,
thank
most of them are nice, right? Now you were you're a Donald Trump. I know you try to play it both ways. You're on TV, but
We're fair and balanced.
That's right.
Comes out a little. You kind of like Donald Trump. People didn't give you a tough time at all. Nobody came by, yelled something, nothing like that. Never.
I don't see that. I go
Never?
to work super early. We have security all over Fox News, thank
Yeah.
goodness. So I really don't see that. And I'm from the South. Most people in the South are pretty conservative.
Yeah,
So they,
yeah.
Donald Trump got South Carolina, which is where I'm from.
he
So
did.
most of the people that my family, they're conservative.
Yeah, sure. Are you rooting for Nikki Haley to get the Secretary of State
I would
job?
love to see her get
Yeah.
that job.
Yeah.
I don't know if she didn't support Donald Trump at first.
Right.
And then she came out recently and said she would support his policies. And as a Republican, she wanted to support him. But I don't know if he's going to hold that against her. But I would love to have her, as Secretary of State.
It's a good sign that she's up at Trump Tower today.
It is a good sign.
That bodes
Yeah.
well for...
and being a female, I'd love to see one or two females.
a
get
female
great.
from the Palmetto State, another one
Wouldn't that be great?
making it big, as
Can
you
you
did.
believe this? What was y'all's reaction when y'all woke up that morning at like 2:45 in the
No,
morning?
I didn't
and
wake
just-
up. I was up the whole night.
You were?
I never went to bed
sleep.
either. Yeah.
I think
It was,
we
I
all,
was elated. I loved it. It
You
was
did?
fantastic.
I was upset.
It was the best
You
night
were
of my
upset.
life.
I voted for Hillary. I did.
did.
And
Okay.
but it's funny because
Poor guy. Say a prayer for him.
I was in D.C., but I don't. It's fine. I'm rooting for Donald Trump. I got 2 kids. I want the country to be great. I hope he does a great job.
See, I wish other people would have
That's
that
how I
attitude
honestly
and not
feel.
all this protesting and
No, no,
vandalizing
idiots.
and
Those
beating
people
people
are
up.
Idiots and morons. But I knew I was in a hotel bar in Washington, D.C. at 9:30. Okay, I was telling Bernard, people go to a baseball game, Ainsley, they keep score.
Right.
In the bars in D.C., they do that with the election. They're writing down who's going to.
Yes.
And I'm looking at these states. He's winning Virginia. He's winning North Carolina. And it was early in the polls, but he was winning every state. So by 9:30, I knew it was over. By 3 o'clock, he made it official. But by 9:30, 10 o'clock, I was like, oh, my God, Donald Trump's going to win.
See, I was texting with people at Fox that are experts at all of this, and they were all saying I think she's going to win. When we were all kind of getting ready for bed, we couldn't really sleep. The whole country was sleep deprived the next day. I loved it. We were,
Oh, yeah.
normally we're the ones
Sure.
that are sleep deprived. Our viewers have
That's
gotten
right.
some.
Yeah.
We were all
Join
in it
the-
together.
join the club, folks.
Right.
Now you know.
Now you know how we feel.
That's right.
But anyway, so I slept for about 2 hours, and when I woke up at like 2:30 in the morning,
Oh,
and
you're
that's
right there.
when.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I woke up at 2. I woke up at 2 because we had to be on air an
Did
hour
you pour
earlier.
a glass of champagne immediately?
I
It was great. No, you guys had a great relationship with him throughout the campaign.
We did, and we asked Hillary every single time we
Exactly,
asked
right.
him.
So
we asked
fair and balanced,
right?
exactly.
And then when I interviewed the vice president, I flew to Indiana. I
Yes.
met with his whole family there. We asked if we could meet with Tim Kaine. He said no. Tim Kaine used to be a friend of our show. He would come on all the time. But then when I think Hillary was in control of making the decisions,
That was
in
it.
retrospect, what a mistake. I mean, they
agree
failed.
with
They
you.
failed to reach the people they needed to reach.
I agree with
In
you.
addition to not going to those states,
Yep.
Michigan, Wisconsin, et cetera, they had a chance to reach reach out and speak to those voters who were turned off, and they refused to.
And Donald Trump, he went on the mainstream media all the time.
That's right, everything.
He always
MSNBC,
said yes.
CNN, ABC, whatever, all the biased people,
right,
and including Fox and Friends, and it paid off. And paid
he was
off
good
in
with that.
spades.
When we were at was it was one of the debates. I think it was the first debate. I think
we
and
saw
the
you at
second
Hofstra.
debate.
We saw you that morning at Hofstra.
Yeah.
You were walking off the stage with Peter King, and we were right there, me and Jill, when we saw you that morning.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I should have come over and hugged y'all and said, hey. So he was always there. After every debate, he came into the spin room to talk to reporters. We were all like, what? And everyone, it was so funny. There were thousands of journalists in the spin room watching it, hoping to get interviews with like surrogates when they came in afterwards. They didn't expect the candidate to come in. So after that first debate, he comes in with his entire gorgeous family, and he goes straight to Sean Hannity. So all the journalists swooped into Sean Hannity. Mr. Trump, trying to get their microphones in after Hannity got an interview. Me working at Fox and working with Sean for 10 years, Sean's like, Ainsley, come on in. I'll give you the interview too. So I get interviews with all these people in the Trump family because of Sean Hannity. God bless him. So all these journalists saw what had happened after the first debate. The second debate, I was in the spin room. They all were looking, where's Sean Hannity? Where's Sean Hannity? They all surrounded Sean Hannity's area. They waited for him to come out.
Smart.
Right? Jill knows. Jill's worked with him.
Listen, I'm going to admit something to you right now, which I haven't even told Bernard yet, but I'm going to admit it to you. Before I was doing IMUS, I was doing this show with Bernard. That was the only show I did. So in the morning, I would put you guys on television. And oftentimes you would have a guest, and we'd have that same guest that day. Like Meatloaf, for example, or some of these guys. So I would steal a lot of your questions.
Oh, good.
And use them on this show. But I'm being honest about it now. Is that okay?
That's okay. You can steal our questions.
It's like confession in Catholicism.
Right.
You're the priest.
You're just sitting there on the edge of your chair. You had to confess.
Right. I watched Ainsley talking to Meatloaf. I go, he's coming in 2 hours.
Well,
Let me see what Ainsley has to say.
I'm going to have to start making sure my questions are better then. But I know you're watching. Lots of pressure. I'll tell you the number one question to ask. We always heard this growing up in journalism school.
Okay.
Why?
Why?
It's the best question.
Why?
So many people.
Right.
Why did you write the book? Why did you decide to run for president?
Right.
It's the number one question, and oftentimes I'll watch interviews, and it's such a simple question. They don't ask it.
They don't ask it, right.
Speaking of which, the book is Take Heart, My Child. Ainsley Earhardt is the author. Take Heart, My Child. It's a lyrical lullaby, a beautiful children's book, an homage to a child. It's just beautiful.
Well, can I say one thing really quickly?
My dad. Take your time. Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't know if usually when you're TV, I know the wrapping signs.
You can go right ahead.
Yeah.
Folds of Honor, an amazing organization. Dad always wanted us to give 10% of anything we make.
Folds of Honor.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll tell you about the organization in 2 seconds. Dad always said, I want you to always give 10% of whatever you make back to the church. In this case, since this is not my primary source of income, this is just a surplus. If we make any money off this, that'd be great. But I'm going to give 10% to Folds of Honor. I already have for the advance. So
nice.
They actually got more than 10% for the advance because they kept taking it out of my bank account and I didn't realize it. It was the repeat thing, which I do not mind at all. They deserve this money. But anyway, it provides scholarships for kids of fallen soldiers.
Oh, wow.
So Major Dan Rooney, an awesome guy. He's coming on Fox and Friends on Friday. Y'all should have him on his show. He is incredible. He's done 2 tours of duty, served our country, National Guard. Amazing, amazing man. Started this organization because he was sitting on a plane and the pilot said, would y'all please just stay in your seats for a little bit longer? Half the plane did not. They got up, even after the pilot continued. The pilot said, there is a fallen soldier on this plane that we're going to take his casket off the plane. It was a flag-draped casket. Major Rooney looked out of the window, saw it being wheeled away over to the family. The family was on the tarmac to accept it. The guy's twin brother was walking next to the casket. They delivered the casket to the family. The mom was there with her children, young children, and he thought, who's going to take care of them? Who's going to send them to college? The dad is gone. So he started this organization. It has taken off. Wow. All these celebrities are supporting it. After the tragic story of Wounded Warriors happened, where they were, using a lot of the money for parties and things, more people started supporting his organization. It's really taken off. He's awesome. He has this big celebrity golf tournament out in Oklahoma. But it's foldsofhonor.org if you want to learn more about it.
We will steal that guest from you and
you should on Friday.
Sounds great.
Yeah. He's good. He's best friends with one of our producers, Gavin Haddon on Fox and Friends, if you know him. Gavin is very involved in the organization.
We will be in touch with him. But Ainsley Earhardt, now we are out of time. But I do want to mention the book again. It is called Take Heart, My Child.
Yes.
It's the runaway bestseller
Thank
right
you.
now.
They ran out of it on Amazon and on Barnes & Noble, but you can still get it. We just sent them thousands of more books, so those are going out, I think, on Monday. So
Awesome.
please buy it.
They didn't anticipate, though.
They did.
The love that your
It's
viewers...
the Donald Trump story.
It is.
That's right.
Basically, yeah.
Take
I
Heart, My
thank you
Child.
all for buying it. Y'all are
Excellent job.
awesome. We love our viewers and our
You're the
listeners.
best. You're a sweetheart, Ainsley Earhardt.
Thank y'all for having me on.
Thank you. Back on Bernie and Sid after this.
77 WABC. Traffic and Transit.
Fairfield County, the Connecticut Turnpike southbound at Norton.